was born in La Jolla, actually, California, but my parents moved to El Paso, Texas when I was young, and that's where I grew up. And I had great parents, whose names are Joe and Nell. This is how I got my name.
The fairest bloom the mountain knows is not an iris or a wild.
When I was about to finish high school, I wanted to get out of El Paso, and I applied to Stanford, where I had never been, never seen it, didn't know any reason why I did that, but I did, and I was accepted. And so, as Jack said, I showed up as a freshman, and he was one of the first people I met. My mother said, "Honey, I'm not going to tell you not to drink or smoke." I was such a good girl at that stage. "I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm only going to tell you one thing. Never get on the back of a motorcycle. So dangerous. Never, promise me." And I said, okay, Mom. So after I met Jack when he was a student cop, he said, "Would you like to go for a ride tomorrow?" And I said, "Sure." And he showed up on a motorcycle. And I hopped on the back, and off we went.
A few years later, I graduated and was living up here. And Jonell wrote me a letter and said, "I'm in Asia and I really want to travel. And I'm writing to a few of my friends to see if they can come." So a couple months later, I flew to Bali and met Jonell. And we traveled for 6 months. And the last 3 months we spent together in a little mud floor, 14 by 14 foot house in the Himalayan foothills. And really found ourselves, I think, and our basis of what was important. And actually a meditation practice.
So we went to India. Jack left. I wasn't ready to leave. I mean, I didn't know why I would leave because I wasn't sure what I had to come back to. And finally, I ran out of money, and I got tired of being a foreigner. So I came back to the States. I went here and there. I didn't find a place that felt like home to me. So I got in touch with Jack and said I was coming, and that I was just planning to stay for a short time and then go back to Asia and find a job somewhere, because I was struggling with this country, kind of my feelings about the military-industrial complex, we called it. So he was up here on the land. So I connected with his sister, and she led me up here. I was driving a little Volkswagen. She had a little Volkswagen bus. So she went first, I went second. And my parents didn't camp. We weren't, I had traveled a lot in Asia, but never camping. So as we got farther and farther from town, and the road got worse, and it got bumpy, and it got dirt, and it was muddy, and I thought, oh,
Well,
I always thought Jack lived on a little, 1 block off of 101 with a mailbox. So I'm thinking, I am not happy. I don't like this. Can we just go home? But up there at the top of our driveway, 2 miles from here, there was a huge puddle. And Peggy, his sister, didn't want to drive through it. So we abandoned our cars and we walked. And it was getting very dark. And I just really thought I was going to fall off the end of the world. Those Columbus sailing off. But we did make it. And Jack had made dinner over his little campfire. And I ate and I went to bed. And I woke up the next morning and cried. And I cried and I cried. And I think we didn't drink much in those days at all. But he had a bottle of really cheap red wine. And we sat over here in the meadow and drank wine, and I cried about my life. And then he said, "Well, I'm just about to mill up some lumber to build this house because I don't have any money to buy wood, but someone gave me an Alaskan mill. We're just going to mill it, and why don't you stay and help me? And you can live in the house for as long as you want, and you can have your room, and I'll have my room, and then you can leave next year." And I didn't have any money, really. I didn't have a job. I didn't really have a plan. So by the end of that day, I said, "Okay, I'll help you mill the lumber, having no idea what that meant.
Plus, because it rained, I had purchased this little 28 passenger school bus. And so I said, look, you can have the bus. And it was as nice as any room she'd been in Asia. So, and it had some security because it was, had door and windows. So she stayed.
Yeah.
And I haven't been able to get rid of her.
I would say that we had very little money, and we felt good about that. We really didn't, making a lot of money, having money and things was not what we were doing here. After all that time in Asia, in Bali, in India, I had really come to the conclusion that peace of mind was what I was looking for in life. And that was the thing in the place, I went back to the area around Stanford and the city, and I couldn't imagine myself really finding a peaceful place there or creating a peaceful place at that time. So that was kind of in the back of my, even though this seemed so remote and scary to me, I could see that this was a place where I could really continue my meditation practice and find peace of mind.
I won't be looking for tomorrow. I'll be crossing all the great divide.
We really, really had this strong meditation. We sat for close to an hour in the morning and at night, and it was like clockwork. And when we decided to have kids, everyone said, oh, there's no way you'll be able to continue that. And we said, well, you don't know, at least I did. You don't know us, or you don't know me. And we sort of made it through our first kid. We would take turns taking care of him if he needed, but if he was sleeping, we'd both sit. And then the second kid, it became a lot more difficult. And the third kid, it became impossible. And that was hard to let go of because we were attached to it. That was our life, this quiet, meditative life. And so what should have been clear, and is clear to me now, is there were no better spiritual teacher than our kids, and my love for them and how they opened my heart, which is a huge part of what a spiritual meditation practice is supposed to be about. But often in the West, it tends to be more of an emptiness and mind thing rather than the compassion part of it. And so my kids were great teachers.
I feel like I've had a really great life here, a really great life. And I love my partner. I have great kids. I have lived in beauty. I feel so lucky. I have wonderful friends and lots and lots of them. And I feel connected to so many groups and different parts of this community. And I think that is just the great good fortune of living in a small community filled with interesting people. My experience here has been wonderful. I love it.